Welcome to Michigan in Focus. I'm Bruce Walker, Great Lakes Regional Editor for the Center Square. And Scott McClellan, the Center Square reporter, is here to talk with us today about proposed budgets. Scott, we are in the middle of the Budget Olympics. It is the World Cup of budgets here in Michigan, and we have a lot of people trying to shove their projects into the budget, and some of them are most interesting, to say the least. So why don't you give us a little bit of background information and fill us in on some of the, well, what some might consider to be wasteful spending.
This week, the Democrat-dominated Michigan House passed multiple budget bills for the fiscal 2023 to 2024 year, sparking outcry from Republicans who say that the $80 billion budget is full of wasteful spending. Now, Bruce, $80 billion is a record proposed budget for Michigan.
Compared to what? It's $80 billion for next year. What is it currently? Where does it stand now?
Mid-70s, but I think about around 13 years ago, that budget was down to about, it was like 50. It was in the 50 billions range. So we're talking an increase of, roughly $30 billion over a decade and some change.
Okay. Well, thank you. And I'm glad you had those figures at your fingertips. And we were looking at what was supposed to be like a $9 billion surplus. And if all of these programs go through, we're going to blow past that $9 billion in no time.
Easy come, easy go,
Well, okay. So the House passed their version of the budget yesterday. And what is in there?
The House included $21 billion for the school aid budget, and that includes over $600 million to address youth mental health and support tutoring to make up for learning loss over COVID. The budget would increase spending by 6.4% for more than $1.5 billion, and the budget would include $150 million for school transportation, and it would cover free preschool and free breakfast and lunch to all students.
To all students?
Yes.
Not based on need, but based on you show up for school and you get food.
Mm-hmm. Democrats back this as a strong, historic, bold budget. Rep. Angela Whitwer said in a statement, "We've invested in healthcare, worker recruitment, and retention to strengthen our economy and shorten wait times to see providers. We prioritize public safety by allocating funding to graduate a new class of officers to help keep us safe. We're supporting the small local businesses that are the heart of our local economies." Okay,
so that's education for the most part, and education, transportation, and free meals for students and things like that. What else is in there that, because one can always make the argument that more money for education is for the greater good, that it's beneficial. Although you and I, with a little bit of background in economics, we could actually kind of challenge those assumptions. But okay, the Republicans, as you noted in a story that you published today, they are in the minority for the first time in 40 years. 40 years, that's a long, long time. And I recall all of those times. But they're complaining that the budget spends taxpayer dollars poorly. So you mentioned House labor and economic budget would include, I'm going to just throw it to you, Scott.
Yeah, the House Labor and Economic Opportunity budget from the House includes $55 million to expand electric vehicle charging station access. Now, Bruce, there's only just over 25,000 electric vehicles registered in the state of Michigan. And more than that, the budget requests $10 million for the John Ball Zoo, $5 million for the Office of Future Mobility and Electrification, an office that supports electric vehicles. There's $2 million for the Detroit Grand Prix Auto Race and $2 million for the Max M. and Marguerite Fisher Music Center. There's also $43 million for Belle Isle Park, $8 million for the annual Detroit Auto Show, and $3.5 million for three Bruce, splash pads in Ottawa County and Berrien County.
Well, okay.
So if that goes through, I want to see these splash pads because at $1 million per sounds pretty nice.
We might want to crash those splash pads.
Might have to film a podcast there.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Maybe get some video in there.
I like how you think. What about the transportation budget, Scott?
The transportation budget is about $6.8 billion. There's some wiggle room in there, depending on whether you're looking at the House or the executive, but it's not all going toward roads. So about $20 million would go for a drone infrastructure projects, including drone hubs, drone ports, and last mile delivery. There's $7.5 million in there for Lake Michigan electric vehicle circuit tour. There's $5 million more for the Michigan Mobility Fund platform. So that's in addition to the $55 million and the other $5 million. There's $5 million for charging pilot projects and $5 million for a Michigan electric bike purchase incentive program.
Wait, e-bike purchase incentive program.
Yeah, I'm not sure. There's accompanying bills that are similar to this, and in the bills, those bills would give someone about $500 to buy an electric bike if it costs under $8,000, which seems a little high for me because I can buy a car for under $8,000. So, I mean, if there's an electric bike for $8,000, it's got to be pretty nice.
Right. Well, you can actually equip an existing bicycle with that for $500. So, or you can buy a new bike that's already outfitted for electric and has regenerative battery power from pedaling for, I don't know, I think the last time I checked was like under $2,000. So I'm not sure whether someone is actually doing their research or calling their local bicycle shop. But let's wrap this up. I mean, because there's just a lot of stuff here. And the Senate Labor and Economic, because the Senate passed their version of a bill, and that includes $30 million that would promote Michigan as a destination for special events. So I guess it would be a marketing committee that would run around and say, hey, you want to come to Michigan and you want to have another car show, or you want to have a convention for your biotechnology company, or any type of conferences, or even major sporting events like I would imagine the Super Bowl, or perhaps maybe the World Series, and another $10 million for automotive retooling and retraining. I don't know, a lot of money. Any final thoughts on this?
Just some boilerplate language. Rep. Sarah Leitner of Springport said that
she's a Republican.
She's a Republican, yes. She said that some of the boilerplate language was removed from the budget, including transparency measures explaining how tax dollars are spent, details about the state's pension obligations, road bond debt, and hush money payments. Now, Bruce, in 2021, reporters uncovered that Governor Gretchen Whitmer's administration paid out just almost $253,000 to 3 former state employees who left in a hurry. And overnight. We might have to. Yeah,
it was an overnight thing. You leave work one afternoon and you come back the next morning and offices have been cleared out.
Yeah. So that's the last thing I wanted to mention about that budget, but I'll be continually diving into this.
Oh, yeah, there's going to be a lot to chew on here. This is like being, 33 flavors of ice cream to take a sample of. So I do appreciate all the legwork you've done on this, Scott, and listeners can keep up with the Michigan budget stories and more at thecentersquare.com. We ask you to please subscribe, and thank you for listening.